This is Inspiring Careers with your host, Ingrid Centurion. We're going to talk about fascinating technologies that will impact your future. Meet inspiring entrepreneurs and people that are making huge differences in the community and around the world. We have John Paul Moran with us, the founder of GOUSA, Grand Opportunity USA. We're going to learn all about GOUSA, and thanks for being back on the show with us today.
Ingrid, thanks for having me.
A 501c4.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a type of nonprofit.
And what is specifically that type of nonprofit?
Well, technically it's called a social welfare company organization, and the idea is that the mission of the organization is to help society in some fashion or another. So our mission is to promote, and at a high level, promote opportunity, promote American values of economic, personal, social, educational, and national opportunity. So that's our real mission. How can we help people of all ages, all backgrounds, all lifestyles, all races succeed in America? So that's our mission. Before
we start talking about the nonprofit, share with us some of your background, where you grew up, and let's really learn about John Paul.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh.
Yeah, New Jersey boy.
Yes. Jersey.
Yep, you can take the boy to Jersey, you can't take the Jersey out of the boy, right?
That's right, never.
So I grew up in New Jersey, and I was raised as a Irish Catholic. My family is very Catholic, and I've always been a conservative. Way back in the days, I'm going to date myself back to the 80s.
How many brothers and sisters?
There's 5 of us all together.
Big
it's
family.
A big Irish Catholic family, and I've always been an entrepreneur. When I was a kid, I was doing the newspapers, and I had newspaper routes, and I had younger kids working underneath me, and I had a racket of newspapers.
It's a Jersey thing. We work.
Yeah, we worked hard.
We've been working since we were little.
Yeah, since I was like 10 or something. And I just worked. Then I started a side business, a sign painting business, a design business, T-shirts, one thing after another, because I just felt, it's when you're an American, when you believe in this country, I think it's just an automatic. To me, it's just an automatic thing to say that we have opportunity to become better and make more money and do things that to make yourself better. So,
you're also an amazing athlete and runner.
Well, I guess I still run, I still train, but I don't compete anymore. When I was in high school and college, I competed a lot. I was a long distance runner. I ran the 5K and the 10,000 meters. So we used to train over 100 miles a week back in the day. And it was twice a day, running twice a day. And the idea was anything to do better, to be my own personal best, and to ideally win races. And there's that mentality. I honestly think that there's a real strong correlation between that and just my overall view of being an American, where you work hard, and when you work hard, you can do better. The opposite of the left, which is it's not fair when people work hard and do better. Everybody deserves an equal outcome. I often say socialism is, I think of socialism this way. I talk to college students, I say, imagine if you ran 100 miles a week to do your best. You trained all summer long while everyone else was sitting on the couch and hanging out and going to parties, didn't train. Then you go to race and they say, okay, John, well, you have an unfair advantage because you came in better shape. So we're gonna start you, everyone's gonna get a big head start, so you all finish together. That's what socialism is, that's what the left is about. And how mad would you be if you're an athlete that trained 100 miles a week and you show up to the race and they said, oh, you're starting a quarter mile back because it's not fair to everybody else that they didn't come prepared, so they're going to finish together, right? That's exactly what socialism is.
That is a great example of hard work. Hard work gets you somewhere.
Yes.
And share with us also about you growing up and some of the threats you received, and just a little bit more about you and when you, decided your lifestyle.
So so I've been, I've not only always been Catholic, I've always been conservative, and I've always been gay. And for years I couldn't come out because back when I was younger, it was not, it wasn't advantageous. Society was not accepting of gay people, and so at some point, I decided, about 15 years ago, I'm going to come out to everybody, maybe a little bit more than, right around 2000 or so, I decided to so-called come out of the closet. And I got backlash from it, right? And I do know what gay bashing is. I've never been physically assaulted, but I've gotten, I've heard the comments. I mean, it's not an easy path being gay. And everybody that's had to struggle as a gay or bisexual or a trans person, I feel their pain and I'm with them, right? Because I've grown up with it. But I will say that coming out as conservative, when I started about 2011 through 2012, I started being much more outright conservative, and I was supporting at the time Mitt Romney. And the backlash I got was tremendous. More than half my friends left me.
Wow.
I mean, the gay world, more than half. Probably about 60, 70% wanted nothing to do with me after I came out as conservative. And I've been threatened physically. I've been threatened with death. I've gotten death threats because I dared to say, I believe in America. I believe in opportunity, freedom, and liberty. And for that, the left will attack you. And they'll attack you for leaving the so-called rainbow plantation, they call it. So I've been threatened, and it's bizarre that we live in a country where just standing up for your own country makes you a target, right?
Right. I think it was really important for us to understand your background and what made you write your book, as well as start now your foundation. And share with us the 5 points of opportunity that is a real big part of your logo. And how did you come up with that logo?
So, okay, so there's a few parts to it. So in my book, I wrote about a number of things and cues for conservatives, the rules on how to kind of beat the left at their own game and promote conservatism the right way. And the smallest chapter in my book was probably the most noted chapter. It was a small chapter on let's rebrand the party as the Grand Opportunity Party. The GOP stands for Grand Old Party. Since about 1850 it was formed to free slaves, by the way. The left doesn't like to talk about that, right? The Republicans were freeing slaves. The Democrats were in the South fighting for slavery. You never hear about that today. And I just said, part of my book's message is we're not doing a good enough job branding the movement, right? And so let's take the O and make it opportunity, be the Grand Opportunity Party. And a lot of people like that idea. I'm hoping the GOP says, let's make it official, right? Because I think it's a much better message. And then as I developed that, I said, well, that's where the name of Grand Opportunity USA was derived, from the idea of the Grand Opportunity Party. And we saw that O, and I said, we need a logo. You know the Nike swoosh? Yeah. You see the swoosh, it doesn't have to say Nike, right? You see the Apple, for Apple, it doesn't have to say the word Apple, it's Apple because you know the logo. I said, we need something as bold as that. So we saw the star that was that's modeled after the Air Force, the Air Force logo on the planes. Okay. The star with a circle around it, and created a different version of that for the logo. And the 5 points of the star actually reflect the 5 points of opportunity that we talk about and promote, which we think is.
I love it. It's really great. And that's what America is all about, right? The land of the free and the land of opportunity. Why does everyone want to come to America? Because we have freedom and there's opportunity. And it's just so explain to us the 5 points of opportunity that you talk about.
So the 5 points of opportunity reflected in the star are at the top is personal opportunity, because it's at the top of the star, which everything else derives from that top of the star. And without personal opportunity, which is really your constitutional rights and freedoms, no other opportunity matters. Because if you don't have the right to be free and to have freedom of speech and freedom of the press, right, and the ability to defend yourself, you don't have any rights. So the top of the star is personal opportunity. Okay. From that, next one down is economic opportunity, and free markets. Obviously, we're not a socialist country yet. Hopefully, we never are. Hopefully, President Trump was right when we said we'll never be a socialist country.
We will never be a socialist country.
We better not ever be a socialist country.
We have all worked too hard, and we've shed lots of blood out there for freedom. And
fighting socialism.
That's right.
The Germans were socialists. The German was the Socialist Party, the Socialist National Party. The Cold War for 50 years was fought against socialism, the Soviet Socialist Republic. They will have won the war if they come in here and win, if like the left wants them to. So economic opportunity, for jobs, wages. I mean, the ability to start your own company and not be taxed 90% like all the Democrat presidential candidates wanted you to be taxed, like Bernie Sanders, right? The next one is social opportunity. When I say social opportunity, I don't mean socialism, clearly. I mean everybody has the right for, everybody has civil rights. So regardless of your background or your race or your lifestyle, everybody should be afforded civil rights, equal civil rights, and also there should be a safety net for those. Obviously, society has, there's people that need help. And we need to be able to help people that need help. But we call it a hand up, not a handout, right? That's what I talk when we talk about social opportunity.
And this social opportunity is really important for people to understand what we're talking about here. This is going back to being the victim.
Yes.
Right? Or as well as enabling people.
Yes.
You know, people have to not be giving all the resources to flourish. They have to have the right resources so they can take control of their own lives.
That's right.
To be independent individuals and responsible for their own actions, not have the government give them all their needs, because now they're not thinking, now they're not using their heads.
Well, they're becoming dependent on the state, and the left wants people dependent on the state. Actually, the left wants poor people, because without poor, in a sense, they say they're champions of the poor, but they're enablers of the poor. Because they want people dependent on the state.
Right.
Conservatives want to free people from dependence on the state and give them opportunity. And since Donald Trump was president, for example, black business ownership is up 400%. And it's a similar statistic for Latinos in America. People are doing so well under the Trump economy, and that's because it's helping people. Giving them a hand up, not a hand out. It's very opposite ideas. So that's what social opportunity is. And the next one is educational opportunity. If you look at the polls, one of the top things people are concerned about is education. And education as a whole, I mean, there's a lot of problems happening with the educational system in America. It's from indoctrination at a young age, in socialist indoctrination, to Common Core, which is terrible. The left does not want school choice. They want to stick your kid in a failing school system because they're more for the teachers' unions than the kids. And then we also have the problem with the student debt crisis, which is really caused primarily by the government, right, in the first place. So the government wants to come in and say, we're going to help the problem that we solve. No, the government has to step out of the way. There's a lot of ways to approach the student debt crisis, other than government paying for your college.
Let's talk a little bit about education, because so many people say, oh, education is so important to them, so important to them. And many may criticize Americans as far as, you know, are we, you know, really well educated? Do we have courses that talk about, you know, foreign policies and different things? Mm-hmm. The current state of our education system here in Massachusetts and all around New England, we're up there as far as some of the best school systems in the world and in the country. New Jersey, New York City, New England has a reputation of very good schools.
Well, you're separating out. You're talking about colleges and universities? You're talking about public schools? I'm
just talking about public schools in general, and education. We have, you know, Harvard, MIT. We have some of the greatest higher education here in Massachusetts.
Yes.
But even public schools, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey too.
Yep.
And I went to a public school system, and I did well for myself, and then I went on to college. You know, some people like to criticize, oh, the schools aren't that good maybe down in Alabama, or the schools aren't that good in different parts of the country. Yeah. And what do we need to be doing, on your point, for education? Well,
there's a lot. That's a very loaded question. There's a lot we need to do.
Right.
However, there are a lot of problems with the school systems in America. As I alluded to, there's Common Core is known to be a disaster. The left supports Common Core. School choice is critical. I mean, there's school systems, especially in their cities, that are failing, where not one student passes, you know, basic mathematics, right? And these are major, major problems. And you look at Baltimore, they get, I think, something like 6 or 7 times more per student than other places in America that have graduating kids fine.
Right.
So more money does not always mean better students. And there's a lot to it, right?
Okay.
And also the more localized education, you know, having a federal government control education has generally been disastrous. It's better for local communities to figure out their education system. Obviously, there has to be some standardized testing, but Common Core has been known to be a failure. And then again, you look at school choice, that's critical. I mean, we talk about opportunity. educational opportunity. It's the opposite of opportunity when the government tells you you're not allowed to move your kid to a better school.
Right.
That's how much more common sense can you get than that?
That's so common sense. Right?
Right?
That's kind of like what I wanted to get
so
to.
That's those are some of the things
Right.
we talk about. And then I have a whole, and it'd be a more involved discussion about how we approach the student debt crisis. And another major thing is financial literacy doesn't really exist. There's college students that don't owe anything. They're virtually economically illiterate. I mean, in the high schools, they should be training students about basic, how to manage your checkbook, how to deal with your debt, how to get credit cards and not go into debt. No one's telling these kids any of these things. So I think having common financial literacy would be an important part of any kind of curriculum. But the left isn't for that because they want you to depend on the state. They don't want you knowing what you're doing with your finances.
And your last point is national. National
opportunity. So national opportunity is as simple as saying if we do not have national defense and a civil police force, and what do we have? I mean, you can't protect yourself from when you're you're not going to have liberty and freedom if the men of our cherished men and our men and women in the armed forces are putting their life at stake every day to defend our country, and that cannot be forgotten about. Neither can the men in the blue, the men in blue, and men and women in law enforcement in our country. So when we talk about national opportunity, it's not just defense. It's also what about our country? What about where do we stand in the world, and where are we economically? In the international scheme of things, right? So we took a look at a national opportunity as what can we do to be a better country for ourselves and for the world. But also we need to defend ourselves. We do not have any opportunity if we don't have the ability to have liberty and freedom, which is protected and guaranteed by our armed forces.
Now, I want to talk about your hashtag conservative proud,
okay,
which you have your T-shirt on.
Yep, conservative proud.
Right there, right
there. There it is. There it is, baby. Conservative proud.
And your movement, your conservative proud.
Yeah, so the idea of conservative proud is a couple things. You see this jacket I'm wearing. It's very loud, bold, right?
That's right.
The idea is, people say, oh, look at that loud jacket. He's wearing a flag, right? We need to be so proud of being Americans. And the left and the media and the educational systems, it's all considered, oh my God, we should be so ashamed of our history. We should be ashamed. No, we should not be ashamed. Of course there's things in the past that we're not proud of. Slavery, right? But what did the GOP do? The GOP was formed, the Republican Party was formed to stop slavery. So we did great things. And all societies, every country on earth has had a difficult history.
That's
I mean,
right.
Name one country that didn't at one point invade, right? I mean, come on, the left's litmus test is outrageous that they're saying we should feel guilty and ashamed of being American when we're the greatest country on earth, for sure, by far, bar none, right? So we should be proud of that. And being a gay man, I say, there's a big gay pride movement, and I'm with that. Not the left, not the radical left agenda of the gay rights movement, which was hijacked by the left. The true gay rights movement, which is a civil rights movement for gay people, bisexual people, trans people, that I support 100%. And the idea is, gays have rights because people fought and didn't stay in the closet. They came out and they fought for gay rights and civil rights for gay people. And to those people in history, I owe, and I think all society owes, a lot of gratitude. And I say, if they can be gay proud, proud for being gay, why can't we be American proud? We should be proud of being Americans too. So I thought, let's talk about being conservative proud, because we shouldn't be ashamed for supporting principles of opportunity, economic, social, personal, national opportunity that we just talked about. We shouldn't be ashamed of supporting liberty and freedom. I mean, that's just insanity, right? I agree
with you
100%. But the left and the media will attack us for it. So the only way is in my view, is to say, enough is enough. Let's stand up and be proud Americans. And I actually consider conservative and American to be equal now, today, because the left has gone so far left that they're anti-American. I mean, they hate our history. They attack our country. They call all people that, from European heritage, now all of a sudden we're white privilege and white guilt. I mean, they don't stop. There's no boundaries to how much the left attacks our American institutions and our society. So I think we have to be more bold, more loud, and more proud of being Americans than they are haters of America. Okay. So that's the idea of a conservative proud.
Stand up and show us the back of your jacket. Let's see. Turn around there. Yeah, Go USA.
Go USA. Grand Opportunity USA.
Yeah, you see that?
Does that get noticed? Is that discreet?
Okay. Tell us now about the event that you had this summer. It was a great event that you put on.
Yes.
And
thank you.
Where it started, and take us through that.
So I thought we came up with the idea of conservative proud, as we just discussed. And I said, what better way to be conservative proud than to do something right where liberty began? Liberty began in our country and really for the world in Lexington, Massachusetts. Lexington and Concord at the Battle of Lexington, when the first shots were fired in the Revolutionary War after the British tried to take the gun stocks away, which were our defense. So the Minutemen from Lexington and Concord and Billerica, where I live, and a number of other towns in the area, defended the people that went into the defense of the Americans that were first killed in the Revolutionary War. And I said, how much opposite are we now in Lexington by itself? But for example, there's a very high, it votes left. It's very deep blue, as is the state of Massachusetts. And I said, what is more opposite than freedom and liberty and opportunity than the leftists that have politically taken over Massachusetts? So I said, let's do conservative proud. And we did a rally in Lexington, Battle Green, right where the first shots were fired in the morning. And then we had about 20 speakers in the afternoon in Billerica, where we talked about the principle. And principle was everybody was talking about what it meant to be American, what it meant to be conservative, and to be a proud conservative. I had Brandon Straka from the Walkaway Movement came up. Famous, he's doing great work, the Walkaway Movement. You don't see a bigger fan of the Walkaway Movement than John Paul, right? So I had another young woman, Morgan Zegers, who started Young Americans Against Socialism. I had Joe Collins, who's running against Maxine Waters in California. And Joe, please beat Maxine Waters. She's one of the worst in the Congress. And we had about 15 other speakers speak about liberty, freedom of speech, the attack on our freedom of speech, the attack on our First Amendment, the attack on our Second Amendment by the left, and a whole range of different topics. But again, the idea was we all stood up together as proud conservative Americans, and it was great. We had great reviews. It was a fun time, and we want to do more. We want to do another one. We're going to be doing another one next spring at some point. We don't know the time and the place and location yet. But we're going to continue this movement. You continue the movement. Okay, wonderful. And thank you so much for being on the show with us and sharing all the things that you're doing with Go USA. And what's so interesting is Go USA, it just came out Grand Opportunity USA. Complete coincidence. I know. Tell us that story really quick. Yeah, so Grand Opportunity Party, as I mentioned, was the idea that we want to rebrand the party as the Grand Opportunity Party. And then we said, well, we can't call ourselves a party because we don't want to seem like we're a party, right? It's a party. So we had to call ourselves something else. So we said, well, Grand Opportunity USA. And we've been using Grand Opportunity USA. And about a couple months into using it, when we first started using it, one of our supporters came to me and said, you know what the initials for Grand Opportunity USA are? I said, what is Go USA? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So Go USA is just complete coincidence. And now we're like, that's fate. Well, Go USA. We're all about supporting American values, supporting conservative culture. Go USA just nails it, I think. All right. It totally does. And I had a guest on about a year ago, and he would always tell me how some things just fall in line. And he says all the time, I'm not in charge. The man upstairs is in charge. Yes. And that's how that came out there. I think that's so great. I agree. And I will tell people, how did you write your book while running a business? Working 10, 12 hours a day running a business. I had no time to write a book, and I talked to people about it, and I was like on auto drive. I just started doing it because I felt that somebody had to freaking do it. Nobody was talking about the branding, the messaging of the party. Nobody. There's all the political wonks in Washington had all these agendas, and sometimes good points, sometimes bad points, but nothing that was really, I thought, addressing the elephant in the room was how do we connect with people better and really share this great message of conservatism and really, again, conservatism equaling Americanism today. And I'm a Catholic, so I believe in the Holy Spirit, and I believe the man was saying, you write that book. You write the book. I just went on autopilot and did it. So
that's awesome.
I believe in that, for sure.
Thanks so much for being on the show today, and you definitely need to come back and let us know about the next event you're going to be working on and the great, wonderful things you're going to be doing for America.
Well, thank you. We have a lot to do, and we have a lot to do before 2020 because we have to make sure the left does not gain any more power and control in this country. We have to put real Americans in positions of in government. Right. To any way we can. We need what I call real Americans, which are the same as conservative Americans, to stop the left. So,
well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Ingrid.
I'm Ingrid Centurion, and this is Centurion's Arena. Just like the ancient Romans who battled in the sandpit using swords, spears, and all types of weapons to entertain the people. In my arena, we're gonna battle it out with facts, perspectives, and real-world stories. Let the people decide. Get ready for an amazing and entertaining show. Today we have two amazing people who are gonna share their perspectives on why America is so important. And so many Americans may take the freedoms we enjoy for granted. We have Sophie Underwood and Anton Teodescoro.